everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mia and I am Bookish, Blind, and Broadway Bound. And today, to celebrate the beginning of my BookTube journey, we're going to do the BookTube Newbie Tag. This was originally created by Brenda C, so thank you to Brenda for giving us this tag. I really love this because it feels very quick and comprehensive way to get to know me as a booktuber and to introduce myself to you guys. So the first question is, why did you start this channel? And I have seen and received a lot of comments about if you're blind, then how can you read what I'm saying right now, and how can you write anything? And I feel like what better way to combat that belief that blind people can't read and write than to start my own channel explicitly talking about the books that I read and write. But all jokes aside, I just love BookTube, and I've loved BookTube since 2020 and when I was beginning to watch it, and it just is such an amazing space and an avenue for creativity and talking about books. And I'm just super excited to be able to share my perspective on books, to hear recommendations from all of you, and to hopefully contribute to the community of talking about books and enjoying books, which is what we are all here to do. The second question is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? As the title of my channel says, and as I've mentioned, I am blind. I was born blind, and I'm a fluent Braille reader. I started learning Braille in preschool, and I have not seen a blind booktuber out there yet, and I have seen a few disabled booktubers, and I think that I really love bringing this perspective of there are so many different kinds of readers, there are so many different kinds of writers, and there's not just one story to tell, but there's a million different variations on our experiences and how that reflects in books. And I want to be able to talk about some of the amazing books with disability representation, to celebrate that, and to also mention some of the ableist tropes and things that I've seen in books, and be able to bring attention to that, but also just to talk about books in general from the perspective of a minority and a disabled person, and be able to contribute that perspective to the community. Number 3, what are you most excited for? So as I've said, I've loved BookTube for so long, and I just want to create this space where it's very cozy and it's very inclusive of all kinds of different books, but I also want to be able to do different book challenges, different recommendation videos, and I want to get really creative with the type of videos that I make. And I'm really excited to do book tags like this one. I'm excited to just gush about all the books I love, even rant about some of the books that I dislike. And I'm excited to engage with you all in a more meaningful way, because there's only so much you can do just looking on from the sidelines. And so I'm excited to contribute to the community and to be able to talk about all the ways that I love books in the many different creative ways that BookTube allows you to do. The next question is, why do you love reading? And this is a really deep and important concept to me, because when I was younger, there were a lot of things that as a blind person that I couldn't do the same as other people, and I've begun to recognize that it's okay to have shortcomings, and it's okay to have things that feel different for you. But reading was not one of them. Reading was something that everyone was almost on an even playing field with. We're all able to kind of consume these stories in whatever way we're able, and it helped me to understand the world and to take journeys as all of these different types of characters. And being able to do that just meant so much to me, and still means so much to me, being able to broaden my horizon and experience things not only through a sighted author's perspective, but also to write my own stories and see it as a blind person, and being able to enjoy it in that way, I think it's just why I love reading, and why it's so meaningful to me, because it gives me this outlet into the world, and I really enjoy that. The next question is, what book or series got you into reading? And this has to be The Lightning Thief, or the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. I believe I started reading this when I was 7, and my sister started reading it, and I was so eager to hear about Percy Jackson and his experiences, because in a lot of books at least in that age, I would see heroes who seemed to have it all. They were so strong, they were so fit, they were so beautiful, they had all of everything. And to see Percy Jackson as just this 12-year-old kid who's just figuring things out. He's a little sarcastic. He gets scared sometimes. He fails sometimes, but he is still a hero, and he still goes on this quest, and he finds amazing friends. And just seeing this almost underdog story, seeing that what he was facing, which was dyslexia and ADHD, it did not discount his experience, but it actually enhanced and made him a better hero for the job. And just, I think stories like that are so powerful, and that's what really got me into reading and what made me be able to see that I also could be a hero like Percy. The next question is, what challenges will I face as a booktuber? And I think the biggest one is, as you can see, I have this Braille Sense is what it's called, and it's essentially a Braille tablet, and this is where I read all of my books. And so I don't have, a big bookshelf with a lot of aesthetic books on it, and I talk about books in a different way. And I'm really hoping that maybe that will kind of also accentuate that you don't have to have like thousands of books to be a booktuber. You can borrow from libraries, or you can read ebooks, and I think that that's also a very important side of it. And because I can't access physical books, I am really grateful that there's a way to have ebooks and audiobooks be available to me and accessible to me. And of course, I still love to collect books because I love being able to have them in that physical way. But mostly I'm just going to be talking to you without any outside books, just chatting about reading. And I think that is going to be challenging, but it's also going to be really fun. Next is, what kind of books do you like to read? And this is really fun because I feel like I love a lot of everything. Primarily, I do read in the YA sphere, and so I'm a young adult, so I read YA books, but I also love to dip my toes into adult and middle grade. I actually right now have about 2,000 books on my TBR, which I'm sure you guys can relate to having a never-ending TBR, but it's really fun because I feel like I read from a lot of different perspectives and aspects. But my very favorite genre is fantasy, and I'll probably talk about that the most. But I do love contemporary. I love a good historical. I love adult fantasy and adult literary fiction. And so I love that I read from all kinds of different genres, because hopefully that will be more inclusive as a channel for all of you. But mainly I do love fantasy as well as YA. And this is the last question. I actually added this one myself because I wanted you guys to get a little insight on what I like to read specifically. But is, if you were a book, what would you be? And if I was a book, the book that really is my identity distilled into a story, it would have to, I actually have two answers for this. First of all, Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson is one of my very favorite authors. I love him. He is just he's contributed to my love of reading and my love of writing as well. And this book is so whimsical. It's set out on the ocean, and it follows a girl who's very ordinary and who just likes collecting cups and drinking tea, and there's not much else to it. But that's, I think, why it's beautiful, is this very simple, cozy story. And I feel like I relate to that. I'm just a little bit whimsical, a little bit cozy, and so I really enjoy that aspect. And the final book that I'm going to talk about is Disfigured by Leduc. This one's very dear to my heart. It's a nonfiction, and it talks about fairy tales and disability and how those two intermingle. And I love fairy tales, and I'm also experiencing this moment of talking about disability and recognizing my disability for what it is. And so I think this book is a perfect amalgamation of those two things, and I really enjoy it and highly recommend it. Now that is the end of the BookTube Newbie Tag. Please comment down below, if you were a book, what would you be? Or comment some of your favorite types of videos so that I can know so I can have some ideas of what to do next. I'm super excited to take this journey with all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another video. Bye!